Welcome back to Better Health, everyone. I am virtually sitting with Hannah Kling, who is the writer, recipe developer, and content creator behind Lovely Delights, who you may know on Instagram for her amazing recipes. I know I have tried many of her recipes and love them, so it's an honor to be able to have you on the podcast, Hannah.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So I always like to warm up with a little bit of context questions. So the first one I have for you is where did you grow up and where do you live now? And what's a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I actually grew up in a small town called Chino Hills. It's not really that small anymore. It's grown like a lot since we, grew up there. But I grew up there my whole life. And then I just recently moved to Whittier, which is like Los Angeles County, about three and a half years ago. And through my childhood, I went to school. I went to college, to CBU in Riverside. I graduated with my business degree in management. I worked all throughout college. I started working when I was 16. I was a waitress. So I've always been surrounded by food, and yeah, I worked in fashion as well after college. And then through there, I just kind of started Lovely Delights.
It's amazing. So ditto girl. I also started waitressing around that age, and it's a fun position. I mean, in the moment I was kind of like, I don't know about this. Now looking back, I'm like, okay, it was fun. You were always on your feet and talking with people. And so I'm not sure your feelings on how you liked waitressing, but I feel you.
At first, I didn't really like love it, but
Yeah.
it definitely grew on me because I got to like talk to people, and I got to be, I think it really helped me come out of my shell as well.
Oh, totally. Because you always have to, you're basically selling, and upselling and, closing a deal, and then you're on to the next sale. And it's just fun though. It's
Yeah.
fun. So I would love to know, what was your childhood like in regards to health? Because a lot of the recipes you have are, you know, they're amazingly delicious and then they're also pretty healthy at the same time. So was your childhood, healthier, or did you grow up not that way?
Um, no, not really. Like there wasn't a huge emphasis on health whatsoever. We kind of ate, whatever my mom made us. But I think that as like a young teenager, my relationship with food, I kind of like developed, like not a really great outlook on it just at such a young age because of, the Victoria's Secret models. Like I always
Yeah.
wanted to be a model when I was younger. So like those were my idols, and just, seeing how thin they were and just like things like that. I've really, I had a bad outlook on food at a really young age.
Mm.
So growing up, I think like through high school is when it really started for me. And, fast forward to now, like that's kind of
Mm.
why I have Lovely Delights and create, recipes that are a lot sweeter, or, sweet recipes, but have like a lot of more healthier ingredients in them.
Definitely. And I love how you actually kind of create knockoffs of the famous, Girl Scout cookies or, other desserts, but you do it in a way where you're not as guilty about eating it because, you have more healthier ingredients in there, less ingredients, less sugar or more natural sugar. So I love that you are able to do that because you're not sacrificing the deliciousness at the same time.
Right, right. Yeah.
So I would love for you to dive a little bit more into like your journey with your relationship with food specifically, which ultimately kind of brought you to Lovely Delights. What did that look like starting in high school? I know you mentioned you know, wanted to be a model as well. And I know I struggled with my relationship with food in high school, and that's where it kind of began of, looking a certain way. So, I started cutting back on foods and it became unhealthy for me where I wasn't eating enough. And then waitressing, you don't eat as much. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I just eat a simple salad and walk 12 hours a day, and then that's it. And so tell us a little bit about your journey with that and what you experienced.
Sure. So when I was, I think it was a freshman in high school, I'm pretty tall, I'm 5'10". So I've always been taller than all of my
Mhm.
friends, all of my family. And so because I was taller, I think that I, had like a fast metabolism and, I stored fat differently.
Mhm.
But people would always tell me, like, oh my gosh, like you're so skinny, like you can eat whatever you want and like never gain weight. And like those seem like harmless, comments, but I never realized how much like I internalized them. So I was just like,
Mhm.
wow, like I really can't eat whatever I want, like this and that. So like I think that, with that, I started eating more, but then I started, gaining weight. And then I did want to be a model. So I was just like, if I want this, then I have to look, a certain way. And just like it was like a freshman year. So I was what, like 12, 13,
Mhm.
um, so young and just like already internalizing my body and looking
Mhm.
in the mirror every chance I get and stepping on the scale. I started buying like diet pills at like 16. They got shipped to our house. My mom, caught them before I got to get them, and
Wow.
she threw a huge fit. But just, yeah, I had like a really, really big struggle at, really young age. And then um, my end goal was always to be a model. That was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college just to
Mhm.
make my family happy, but like I'm going to do modeling. And so
Mhm.
when I was in college, I was like 2 years about to graduate, and I was like, okay, it's now or never. And
Yeah.
so I really, really started to restrict my food. I put myself on like a really strict diet. I lived in Chino Hills, and I found like a trainer that specifically trains models in like Hollywood. That's
Wow.
like a 2-hour drive. I was driving over there to see him like 3 days a week. He put me on a very specific diet. I was eating like tilapia for like 6 months straight, like every single meal,
Oh my goodness.
like rationing, protein bars. Like it was really bad.
Mm.
But I lost the weight, and I started to book modeling jobs. So I was like, okay, like
Mm.
it's working, like I was, what I was doing was the right thing. Um, but then I just started, realizing that, I wasn't in good health. My
Mm.
skin was breaking out like so bad because I was so malnourished. I
Mm.
was tired all the time. I was, I just didn't feel happy. I
Yeah.
thought, being at that weight would make me happy. Having these jobs would make me happy, but it didn't. And,
Mm.
through after that, this was like after I already graduated college. I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this up, and
Mm.
just going to. I have a degree, so
Yeah.
thank God I went to college. So I started working in an office, which I quickly realized that I hated. I hated
Mhm.
sitting down all day, from being a waitress on my feet all day, and then now sitting down. I hated it.
Yeah.
Um, so through that, I was still trying to figure out what a healthy
Mm.
diet looked like for me and healthy relationship with food. And so that's when I started Lovely Delights, because I was like, I need something that is like mine, something that I can control. And just like started to learn about food and learning about
Mm.
creating recipes that, are good for you, but actually taste good. I don't
Mm.
want to eat tilapia just to have, I want
Yeah.
to I want to eat really delicious food. Like, and I know like
Mhm.
I can have both. And so that's kind of like where I started to just experiment in the kitchen, and I was just posting the recipes online.
Mm.
And, through that, there was, some ups and downs, but I was able to, heal my relationship with food through.
Mhm. That's amazing. I love that. I can relate to pieces of that where, you get that positive, in a way you want to say positive. It's not necessarily positive affirmation from other people of like, wow, you know, you look great, or, things were happening. You were getting those modeling positions because you weighed less. And so it's just like, it was affirmation in your brain that, I'm on the right track, but then realizing, looking back, like, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not actually happy with where I'm at. So taking a moment to like reflect on your whole journey, what do you think you learned the most about yourself?
I learned, that my whole world doesn't need to be consumed with
Mhm.
what I'm eating. I learned that nobody cares about my body as much as I care about my
Yeah.
body. And just like, looking back on things that I've missed out on because,
Mm,
I was restricting my diet.
yeah.
Like there's a specific memory I remember when I was working. And whenever there was I was at a waitress, and whenever someone's birthday, the cooks would make like this crazy, dessert for them. And I would
Mhm.
always say no. And so
Mhm.
like, I remember those moments of not allowing myself to enjoy, that dessert.
Mhm.
That wouldn't have, made me gain a
Yeah.
bunch of weight. That was just a
Yeah.
memory. But I still hold on to that memory of the times I said no. And
Mhm.
I don't even remember, like the other like good, part.
Yeah. Right, right.
Yeah.
I, I feel you where I, same situations of like, oh, I can't eat that, I'm not going to eat that. And in a way, it's just like just being in the moment, celebrating with people, having the joy of that, like
Mhm.
is healthy. And yeah, maybe the food is not what you would call health food, but it's also something that, like you were saying, you're not going to gain weight because you ate it one time,
Mhm.
out of a week or out of a month. And, but having that mindset, it's hard to get out of it and out of that mindset of like, oh, this is going to cause me to gain weight here, or I can't eat that. It's tough to get out. How would you say, like, what what changed? Like, how did you work on yourself to get out of that mindset? Or was it just like a abrupt, like, I can't do this anymore, and it was just the buildup of things? What was that like?
Yeah, so I actually started seeing a therapist 3 years ago. I still see her.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of like childhood trauma that I went through that
Mhm.
I healed, which had nothing to do with food. But through that healing, I also like healed my relationship with food. So
Mhm.
it's like, sometimes it's not really even about the food, it's about other things that are going on.
Yeah.
And just like working on yourself and again changing your mindset, like it can have like
Mhm.
huge impact. So it wasn't, like an instantaneous, one type thing. I think I
Mhm.
did make that decision of like, okay, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So
Mhm.
like that was the first step. But then, the consuming thoughts around, I can't eat this, I can't eat this,
Mhm.
not labeling food as like good or bad, but
Yeah.
labeling it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and then also just allowing myself, I went through this phase where I did gain weight because
Mhm.
I just allowed myself to eat everything that
Yeah.
I'm restricting,
Yeah.
like, oh, I want that. Okay, I'm going to eat it. And, eventually I got to a point where I started really listening to my body. And when I did eat, a large amount of something that I was craving, like it didn't make me feel good. So I started
Mhm.
really listening to what I'm eating and how it's affecting my mood, my energy levels, and things like that. So it's like I think I had to do that to get to where I am now,
Yeah.
because now it's like I still enjoy, those things that I want, but I
Mhm.
also listen, I'm able to cut off without it being like a restrictive
Yeah.
type of thing. Instead, it's like, okay, I'm gonna eat this because I want to enjoy it, but I'm not gonna overdo it because I know it's gonna not make me feel good.
Hmm. Definitely.
It's a really
I,
big difference.
yeah, exactly. I relate in so many areas. So it's crazy where you're speaking to some of the things that I had to work through as well. And one thing that I talk a lot about on the podcast with women is like their hormones and different journeys they may have had with that. And I know you briefly touched on how like the impact of you being malnourished impacted your hormones.
Mhm.
And you had breakouts and everything. So being aware of that, like what changes did you do to your body and like what you ate, which may have, kind of shaped Lovely Delights, and, being aware of what you're putting into your food and how you make your food. Um, Tell us a little bit about your hormone journey.
Yeah. So it was actually last year, it was 2020. No, it was 2021. I actually got COVID, and
Mm,
I don't know if it has a correlation. I've done like there's really not
yeah.
a whole bunch of research on it yet. But I got COVID, and then the 2 weeks after
Mhm.
I recovered, I started my period and my skin just freaked out. Like I was
Hmm.
breaking out all over my chest, my face, my head, like everywhere. No matter what I did, it was just like
Wow.
over and over again. So I was like, I know something's going on with
Hmm.
my hormones. Like I could just tell. I didn't
Right.
change anything in my diet. But I just knew my body, like something was going on. So I started
Hmm.
learning about hormones and like hormonal birth control. I was also on that for like
Mm,
10 years. I got off of it the year before I got COVID. So it was like 1 year. So that could be something that had to do with it as
definitely.
well.
Yeah.
Uh, but also just like trying to learn about foods and how they do affect your hormones and how they affect your sebum levels, which is like your oil
Hmm.
production. And you should eat certain types of food on your certain types of cycles. And I'm not an expert by any means in it yet. I'm still learning from, people that are experts, but I've definitely gone into this hormone journey and it's also super empowering to
Hmm.
know about your body. And like
Yeah.
it's crazy that we're not taught about, our
Yeah.
bodies like by
I
any
know. And the
class.
different stages that we go through in a
Mhm.
month, like
Yes.
I feel like, yeah, in fifth grade, I may have like saw a chart, but
Mhm.
like that means nothing to you when you're in fifth grade, unless you have more context and like how you're going to feel and how food affects it. It's crazy how like unless you do the deep dive, you really won't know
Yeah.
about your cycle.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why I started, following people on social media and just
Mm,
like, doing my own research. And I'm still, on the healing journey because I feel
mm.
like my skin since, having COVID, it has not been the same. Um, like I'm still dealing with it. And that was, over a year ago.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure it out. But I am learning, about certain types of things to eat and
Hmm.
um, how to work out even on
Yeah.
your
Oh,
cycles.
yeah. And you mentioned that you got off of birth control. What decisions did you end up making to make that ultimate decision?
Yeah, I think I was about to be on my own insurance, and
Hmm.
so I was 25 and I was 26, so like you're cut off.
Yeah.
And so it was like coming up on there, and I was like, do I want to, keep doing this? And then it was like, also, I'm been on it for almost 10 years. I was like, I
Hmm.
feel like I should give my body a break. Um, and it's like my boyfriend and I, like I talked to them too, because I'm like, I'm really not trying to get pregnant right now, but there's
Yeah.
other ways, you can, you know, go about not getting pregnant,
Right.
natural birth control, and tracking your cycle. And also, I think just really being heavily into the health and wellness space
Yeah.
and, learning about birth control and what it does to the body. I had
Hmm.
no idea.
It's
Um,
crazy.
Crazy. And so I just decided, when I was done with that packet, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna
Mm.
order anymore. And so I just kind of quit like cold turkey, which later on I learned that you're not supposed to do that. So, which is crazy because
Yeah.
the doctors tell you if you want to stop, just stop. But
Yeah.
you have to, wean your body off those hormones. And
Hmm.
yeah, like, still today, maybe that's why, I'm still dealing with some hormonal stuff because of
Yeah.
that.
It is crazy. And, thinking about how you were on it for 10 years, like, yeah. And who knows, how your body is still trying to adjust from the 10 years of being on it to now not being on it. And it is pretty wild. And
Mhm.
I've never been on it. And I was like at a right moment where I started diving into the health and wellness space and realized, wow, like birth control can do a lot of different things to your body that we don't even know. And it's not good stuff. So it kudos to you for like taking that decision and making it for yourself and going forward with it no matter if it was like difficult or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lovely Delights is your Instagram page. Tell us a little bit about what Lovely Delights entails for those that don't know about your Instagram page and what you try to do in regards to food.
Sure. So, when I started Lovely Delights, the name Delights again, I think it came from like when I was trying to figure out what healthy meant to me. So I
Mhm.
was like, I'm gonna make food taste good, but with like lighter ingredients.
Mhm.
Um, which, looking back, I'm like, okay, lighter, probably not like the right term, what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Um, but, instead it's like creating recipes with healthier ingredients,
Mhm.
ingredients that I started learning about, like unrefined sugars. And
Mhm.
I noticed that like refined sugars, like, white sugar, brown
Mhm.
sugar, when I have a lot of those, like I feel different in my body.
Yeah.
So, creating recipes with unrefined sugars like maple syrup, like date syrup, things like that.
Mhm.
I noticed that it still tastes the same,
Yeah.
but it doesn't affect my body the way those other sugars do.
Mhm.
And so I have a huge sweet tooth. I'm sure, if anyone goes to my page, you can see that right away.
Ditto, girl.
I just I love sweets, and like
Yes.
I gave them up for so long. Like I just like marvel in them now.
Mhm.
I think, it's so important to live a balanced lifestyle, and you can still enjoy, those things that you love. You do not have to cut them out in order
Right.
to be healthy. You know,
Mhm.
I am the healthiest I have been in my entire life, and I have I follow zero diet.
Mhm.
I don't think about what I'm eating.
Yeah.
Obviously I plan out what I'm eating, but I'm
Yeah.
not like counting my macros. I'm not counting
Mhm.
calories. I'm just doing what feels good for my body, and I really
Mhm.
try to show that on my page, because I know, a lot of women,
Yeah.
either have struggled or still are struggling, or
Mhm.
the same path that I once was. And I know it's a scary path, and it's like a lonely path. You feel like you're the only one. And so I really just try to preach, just that living like, a very
Mhm.
balanced lifestyle.
It's so important. And I'm sure that your page is a huge support to so many that, are either in the midst of like fighting a bad relationship with food, or are on the recovery of it and, trying to heal that relationship, enjoy food, not be so strict about it, and not sacrifice, the flavor while having also healthy foods as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think that's like one of the most like rewarding things that I find on my page is like I do get women
Mm,
message me like telling me, things like that, and I'm helping them, or they're eating this, and I'm not an expert by any means, but
mhm.
like just by leading by example, like I'm able to touch people that I've never met before, is like
Mhm.
so rewarding.
That's awesome. I love that. I love what you're doing. And I know that your page is just going to continue to grow because of that. And you're so authentic as well. Um, so, one thing that you strive to do is have minimal ingredients. And people may wonder, well, what's the big deal about having minimal ingredients? So, what would you say to that and the importance of, have less is better than more?
Yeah, I think my first approach is that I want to make creating these recipes very easy. It's sustainable for anybody, even if you don't know how to cook or bake. Like I want it to be very simple, and I think that's
Mhm.
why, I stick to the simple, minimal ingredients. And also, I think that when you're creating a recipe, if you are adding a bunch of things in, like they can affect the gut in certain ways. So having less is more, and then you
Mhm.
also get to really, taste all of those flavors instead of it just being like, bombarded with a bunch of different things.
Yeah, definitely. And like if we think about processed food as well, I know like you buy that, so you're not necessarily making it. The fact of like processed food having so many ingredients where less is totally best because of the fact that you don't know what they're putting in it. A
Mhm.
lot of that stuff is not even good for your body, and we have no idea how to even pronounce it.
Mhm.
So, thinking about like what you buy in the store, minimal is also still best.
Right, right.
Mhm. And talk to us a little bit about your journey and how that's shaped you to do what you're doing today. Like what I guess what is your ultimate goal with Lovely Delights? So I'm kind of shifting the question a little bit. What do you see Lovely Delights doing in the future, considering you're still growing?
Yeah. I have always dreamt of like being in the entertainment business. I wanted to be a model,
Mhm.
but I feel like, my path has definitely shifted, and it's like where I'm at now, it's like I definitely want to help women. um,
Mhm.
and down the future, it's like I would love to do something on TV, whether it's like a cooking show or a food host, or having
Mm.
my own product line. I've always dreamt about
Oh,
having like really lovely cookware or
yeah.
utensils,
Mm.
things like that. Like I definitely want to, continue on the path of like inspiring and helping women, but like on the business side of things, like I would love to just like kind of have like my own product and things like that.
Oh yeah. That would be amazing. I didn't even think about that. So I I know that'll happen in the future. I'll be definitely purchasing some of that equipment. And then this is just out of curiosity. You've made a lot of different recipes. What would you say your top three to make are? This could be based off of they're just fun to make or maybe deliciousness. What would you classify your top three?
Okay, so my chickpea chocolate truffles, those are like my absolute favorite recipe. They're so easy to make, and they're high in protein, and they taste amazing.
Mm.
They're made with like chickpeas, almond butter, like dark chocolate. That's really it. And a lot of people are very like, chickpea, like that sounds disgusting, but I promise, don't knock it till you try it. People that do try it, they're like in love with it. It's just like the
Mm.
lovely texture. Also my matcha cookies. They're also vegan and gluten free. Those are like a fan favorite with
Mhm.
amongst friends and my family. They're always like, bring the matcha cookies. um, and let's see, like a savory dish. I'm a girl that loves some pasta.
Mm.
I also really love, like, I do like a shrimp taco bowl, which is like super easy. This is on my website too.
Yeah.
Um, but just like again, like very, very easy recipes that are simple to follow but taste really good.
I'm sure your boyfriend absolutely loves the fact that this is what you do for a living.
Yeah. A lot of people always say that. He's like, yeah. But he's a good food critic too, because
Oh,
I
good.
get from him.
That's awesome. And at least he actually like enjoys because he enjoys eating it, right? He's not like because my husband, I'm a foodie. I love to cook. I love making different recipes. And kind of similar to you, where I like to make them healthy. Maybe it's a certain recipe, but how can I make this healthy now? He likes to be healthy, but he doesn't really like to eat. And so
Mhm.
that's a big issue because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I made this amazing food and you don't even feel like eating. Like, come on.
That's hard because then you have to like, okay, I have to make this for myself and this for my
Yeah.
partner. They have to worry about themselves. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm really blessed with him because he's very easygoing, and he
That's
honestly
awesome.
is not very picky, but
That's good.
times, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome too, that you have like a actual like person that's close to you that can critique your food. So
Yeah.
you're always like growing, always getting better. And that's awesome. And this is just another random question, considering you live in California, and I feel like there's a lot of awesome restaurants out there that are healthier options. What would you say are your top three restaurants out in the area of where you live?
Yeah, so here in Whittier, there's a restaurant up the street. It's called Modern Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like vegan, plant-based comfort food,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's so good. It's a little bit on the pricier side, so it's like our little bit of our treat.
Yeah.
Um, but they have like oyster mushroom tacos that are like fried.
Mm.
Um, let's see, in Santa Monica, there's the restaurant called Elefante.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's
I don't
absolutely
think I have. It sounds familiar, but maybe it's
it's
just
it's like definitely like an LA thing over
yeah.
here. But the food is like high quality. It's really, really good.
Mm.
And let's see. Um, I don't know. That's it. Two.
That's good. That's good enough. And
Okay.
are there any recipes that you're working on right now to like perfect to put out to the audience?
Yeah. So I'm working on a type of loaf, bread, like sourdough. Uh,
Mm.
very tricky to make, but
Sourdough is, yeah, I've pretty much mastered it, but there's days where it's like you do the right things and it's a flop.
yeah, it just like depends on even like, I don't know, the elevation that day and
Yeah.
things like that. So
Mhm.
working on that, and then just like a few like sweet recipes. I'm working on my website a lot, so I'm trying to
Mm.
definitely put a lot of different variety on there.
Mhm. Do you have a team behind what you do? Because like the content you put out is incredible and it looks amazing in regards to not only the food, but just the aesthetic of your page, and your website's amazing. Like, do you have a team behind you? Because if you did this all yourself, you're like insanely amazing.
I have done it all myself. I actually just signed
Wow.
an agency last week.
Mhm.
So they're going to help me with my emails because it was,
Oh yeah.
too much of my.
Emails are the never ending like thing that everyone just like, yeah, can someone else please do this?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, I think I need some help on this. So they're going to take over my emails and like the negotiation process when it comes to brand working with brands.
Mhm.
But aside from that, everything else is
Wow.
me.
You're amazing, Hannah. I literally was like, there's no way she's going to say herself. Like, I was like, when I read your bio, you know, how you're like the developer, content creator, the writer, the recipe developer, I was like, okay, is this literally herself? Because that's everything.
Yeah, I know. I know. Like, I think what some people don't realize is that, like, it's a very real job.
Yeah,
You're running like a marketing agency, by yourself.
seriously.
You're also, like the talent. So, uh,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a lot of work, but I really love it. I enjoy it.
Good for you. Wow. That like a newfound respect for what you do now, because that's amazing. So the last question I like to wrap up with before we head into rapid fire questions is just like, what are the key takeaways that you have for listeners?
Mhm. Yeah, I think for anyone listening, if you are struggling with food, like your relationship with food, or you don't know, where to turn to, I just want people to know that you're not alone. And I would love to invite you to come to my
Mm,
page and just hopefully, see through my actions that, you really can have it all. You can live a balanced lifestyle and
mm,
still enjoy the foods that you love. You do not have to cut them out or restrict them.
mm. Amen to that. So now we're heading into the rapid fire questions. These are some of the most fun because I get to know a little bit about you really quickly. So the first one I have is, what books are you reading right now? Or maybe you're listening to?
So I'm listening. What's it called? The Period Repair.
Oh, yeah. Repair Manual.
So I'm doing that one. And then what's the other one? It's in my room. That one is on my desk too. I'm reading
Cool.
that one.
It's awesome. And this one may either be really easy or really difficult. What's your favorite food?
Oh, I'm torn between like a breakfast burrito. Like
Mm,
I love a breakfast burrito, especially like the bottom part. Whenever my boyfriend's like eating his, like I'm like, can you give me the bottom?
yes,
So he'll
it's
like
so good.
the bottom and give me the full part. So that's like my favorite. Or, some type of like pasta. And of
Mm,
course,
love it. What is your definition of intentional living?
I love that question. I think just, doing things like finding the reason behind what you're doing and making
Mm,
sure it's, something that is sustainable, or, it means something to you.
yeah.
And just making time for yourself as well.
Mm,
And being intentional in like the way you're scrolling on Instagram or the way you're watching a show, and just kind of like understanding the reason behind doing what you're doing.
mm. You sum that up really well. I feel like that's a accurate description of what I kind of think about too. Is like every action you do, you
Mhm.
know, why are you doing it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
good. And then what is your favorite travel destination or dream destination that you have?
Um, I, I'm torn. I've been to Ireland before, like probably in 2016, and I fell in love with it. So I want to go back
Mm,
there.
Mhm.
But I'm also like a very tropical type of person. So like I definitely want to go to like the Maldives or
Oh
Tulum.
yeah.
I went to Cabo and fell in love with
Oh
it.
my
So
gosh.
polar
So beautiful there.
opposite.
It's probably super quick for you to go to Cabo as well,
It
considering
is.
where you live.
Yeah, it's like a an hour and a half, I think,
That's
flight.
awesome.
And we actually went like right when the pandemic was kind of like ending. And so
Oh yeah.
really empty there. We felt like we had the resort to ourselves. It was so nice.
That's
So
awesome.
definitely want to go back there. It's beautiful.
Same. I went there for the first time in November and same experience. I honestly didn't really know what to expect, but it was just so nice. Like everything was really nice. Great restaurants.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like quality. And
Mhm.
the ocean, it's probably similar for you considering where you live in California, but it was just so much more fun because it was more wavy. It was cooler. I like cooler water. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. It's a good destination to go to.
For sure. I didn't realize we'd be given a pitch for Cabo right now. um, awesome. And so, how can listeners connect with you, Hannah?
So I'm at Lovely Delights across all social media platforms. I'm on TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, which I haven't really dug in too deep to, but it's up there. And then, I have a little contact form on my website as well. So lovelydelights.com. So if you have any questions, you can always, do a little form through there and it comes straight to my email.
Perfect. And that'll be in the show notes for everyone, along with the top 3 recipes that you talked about. I'll also link those for you. Thank you so much, Hannah, for being on. This has been incredible, and you're an amazing person.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was so much fun and truly an honor.